Hi, everybody. Welcome again to another Bad Tabletop Gaming podcast. Today with us, we've got a couple of guests. So on my right, left, go ahead. Introduce yourselves, boys. Tell us what armies you play.
Well, I'm not a guest. I'm Bill. You pointed at me. It don't matter.
Oh, I did? I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, someone start off.
But that's okay.
Yeah, Ryan, why don't you start off, man?
I start off. Sorry, I got confused there. I'm actually below you. It's like a Brady Bunch picture here going on.
It's all good.
So anyways, I'm Ryan Irvin. I've been playing since Heresy. I've only actually been playing since 2017 when I got back into the hobby. Other than that, I played since 1996. Stopped for a little while. Heresy, though, I play Imperial Fists, and I play, I actually play a Shattered Legion army of Traitor Legions. Based mostly around the Emperor's Children. Actually, I've got a fairly large Emperor's Children army now. It's starting to come together. But it's also got World Eaters in it, and it's got Sons of Horus, and then there's Talons of the Emperor hiding somewhere. But, you know, it's an addiction for this game and this hobby. You can't stop at one.
Nope.
Yeah.
Alex?
Right on. Yeah, I'm Alex. I haven't been in the hobby that long. I kind of got into it back in 2013. I'd say I really played my first game, and that was just regular 40k. And then kind of got drawn into the Heresy around when Corvus Corax came out, and got sucked into it with a couple bundle deals that Forge World had on there, and built a Raven Guard army. So I've been playing Raven Guard more or less the whole time, on and off a little bit. I've done some pet projects here and there, including the Emperor's Children that Ryan's got now, and I did Night Lords just kind of for kicks because I got a bunch of it kind of in a trade one time. Just painted it up and then kind of turned it over. And I've been working on a Mechanicum, which is largely Skitari, Secutari based. So
Nice. And then you guys know, I don't know which way, it doesn't matter. Bill and Andy. Yeah. And actually, two Emperor's Children's players. So we're going to jump right in. What are we going to talk about? Well, let's look at Saul Tarvitz. Who's putting him on here?
Love that model.
Yeah, right? It's really, really nice. What's the thing above his hair? I guess we should look at him first, yeah.
Okay. So if you look at some of the art, because it's not actually a thing above his hair, if you can zoom in a little bit there, Andy, where most Marines would have like the service studs, he kind of has like a plate. So you can see it more in some of the artwork around Saul Tarvitz, and if you've ever played like the card game on the phone, he's got the Legion. Thank you. He's got the plate on his head there as well. You can see it right there. So it's a little nod to that.
Do you know like why? Okay, so I remember reading or listening to the first few books, and he was an amazing character, but where does that come from?
It's never really been addressed, and it's not really described as far as I can remember. I don't know, Ryan, if you want to jump in on that. I don't really remember it being mentioned. I think it's just something that kind of came along in the artwork for it, in place of a service stud.
Yeah, it could also be kind of a throwback, because I remember years ago there used to be, you would sometimes find Space Marines that would have a portion of their skull would be kind of a plate. So I don't know, it could have been a headshot and they've just kind of covered it over type thing. It doesn't really say what it could be or what it is or what it ever was. But that's kind of my sneaking suspicion that maybe it was a headshot or whatever, because maybe linking towards, because he does carry, oddly enough, a sniper rifle. Maybe he was having some sort of a sniper duel with somebody and took one in the forehead.
Just to interrupt, if anybody knows, add it to the comments, please, because I'm really, really interested. I want to know where that comes from, because I'm sure at some point in one of the stories they mention it, and now we're just, guessing, but yeah. No, but the model is really nice. I never envisioned his sword to have the little hook at the end, or.
It's a nice nod to Emperor's Children.
Yeah, I didn't either, but it does. It looks a lot like the layer blade, and somewhat like the Palatine blades, Charnable sabers. So I think it's trying to kind of keep in line with that while giving it a bit more bulk, because it is a little bit more of a broadsword, and you can see that the way that he's holding it, it's got the leather wrapping around the bottom of the blade, which is common for that fighting style with claymores.
So is that really a sniper? Do they have a backshot? Is that a sniper rifle?
It is a sniper rifle. For whatever reason, Saul Tarvitz has a ballistic skill of 4, and then he's armed with a sniper rifle. So for someone that you kind of want him to be more moving, he doesn't really give good buffs, like aura buffs. So he's not someone you necessarily want to keep sitting behind a line, but it's an odd choice because they don't really describe him as using a sniper rifle in the books either.
Okay, well, so I have his rules.
By the novels,
it is kind of an odd one that he does have a sniper rifle with his, but given that he has that rule that makes it so he's better at like I think it's called hold the line or hold the defensive line or something like that.
Yeah, that's true.
Master of Defense.
He's a little, yes, Master of Defense. That's what it is.
Yeah,
that's his warlord trait though. So it's only if he's the warlord. He's only a loyalist, of course. So any unit he joins gains counterattack while they're within their own deployment zone.
Yeah, so it kind of motivates you to kind of stick around with it.
Yeah.
Like, you don't go off on missions to kind of do stuff, which kind of defeats the purpose of a little bit of the fluff to be carrying a sniper rifle. I don't know.
It's definitely
a unique combination.
It's definitely a unique combination for.
Yeah, well, especially when he's one less ballistic skill than your standard Centurion.
I'm surprised his weapon is what it is. So they gave him the Charnable broadsword, right?
Yeah.
What's the Emperor's Children regular weapon?
Like for the Palatine blades, Charnable sabers. So which is something that's widely available. So Charnable sabers have duelist edge, which give you +1 initiative in a challenge, and the Charnable broadsword does give that to Saul Tarvitz as well.
Oh, but it gives him +1 strength.
Yeah.
It's two-handed though. Rending?
Rending is standard on Charnable sabers as well, but it's two-handed and +1 strength. So that's the real difference of it. Is you're giving up the extra attack for having 2 close combat weapons in exchange for +1 strength.
Right. Preferred enemy, Emperor's Children. That's cool.
Yeah.
Master of the Legion, Refractor Field. So he's a good low-level, small point.
Yeah, for being 135 points, right? That's
right.
Fairly decent.
He's inexpensive.
Yeah, and he's only meant to be a line officer, right? Like he's not really Praetor status, so you can't really have him bumped up that high or have him running around with a Paragon blade.
He still has 3 wounds.
3 wounds,
right?
yeah, that's pretty
6
sweet.
And leadership 10.
Nice.
Yeah.
Right, in leadership 10, yeah. So like in a small army, 135 points, loyalist. That's nice. So are you planning on having him, Ryan?
Yeah. I actually just wrote a list up. I was bouncing ideas off of Alex as I expand my Emperor's Children. I was like, oh, what if I did like kind of a Saul Tarvitz type thing? He's like, you do know that model that you got off me that I modeled was made of Saul Tarvitz. So
yeah. So I used.
Did you ever get that head, Alex, that you were looking for?
Give me 2 seconds.
Yeah. Sure.
No, I didn't. I ended up putting a helmet on him instead.
Okay. So this is the model that he did up.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So because I always kind of envisioned the initial plan for that model was to put him into a diorama with a conversion for Lucius with 2 Charnable sabers. So that's why I kind of went for the action sweeping up with the broadsword.
Right.
Yeah.
Very, very
Which is actually
similar,
funny considering the actual model that they just released is pretty much the same position, eh?
Yeah, it's very, very close. I didn't put a sniper rifle. I opted not to model it fully WYSIWYG. And two reasons for that. One, obviously economy of space. I didn't want the model to look cluttered. And the second was, I can't remember which book it's in, but the Emperor's Children, one of the Emperor's Children was described as setting his bolter down carefully because they take so much care of their weapons. So before he actually got into close combat, he sets the bolter down on the ground. So by that, I mean, with that in mind, then I can kind of rationalize not having the sniper rifle on there because he would have put it down before actually engaging in the sword plate.
It does also say that the sniper rifle is a modified bolter, right? So if you ever did want to add something, or even on the ground, there's lots of models that have the modified bolters with the extra length barrel. So
it's like the stock.
And actually, if that is something you want, Ryan, I do have the bolter sniper rifles.
I actually do have 5 of them. I picked up a recon squad secondhand from a guy in town here, and he had them modeled with the sniper rifles, but he had the shotguns on the backs.
Okay.
So all I did was swap it and took it off. So
nice.
I've actually got those. But actually, to go back to your recon squads with melted bombs and shotguns.
Okay.
And the world eaters.
Actually, that makes a lot of sense. So,
yeah, I mean, if you put them in scout armor, you can infiltrate them, hide them in a building, and then start a turn 2, run them into something and blow it up because they haven't moved through cover and infiltrate if they're in scout armor.
Yeah.
Good. But to go back to your question, the would I field them? Actually, I did, and I haven't played the game with them yet, obviously, because we're stuck. But I put him in the army, but then looking at the stats, like you said, he's only got 3 attacks. He's using a double-handed weapon. So I decided to buff him a little bit. I gave him a command squad. So he's got kind of the basic command squad. So he's got like the standard bearer, and then he's got a couple of other guys with charnable sabers, combat shields, and Volkite. So it gives him a little bit of kind of backup support without taking away from the whole idea that he's the commander. I don't want to just take him and just throw him in some massive blob like Terminators or something. It's just kind of...
No, I'd probably put him, like, if I were to run him. He's definitely not, like, if we're talking about competitive play, he's not a model that you run for competitive play. But for majority of the other games, and especially if you run story-based campaigns or anything like that, he would be awesome, right? Especially if you do, like, Emperor's Children, which is Emperor's Children, or with War Leaders, and did you mention that your Scattered Legion is Traitors?
Yeah, my Shattered Legion is made of Traitor Legions, so it is World Eaters.
Oh, but they're loyalists.
And Sons of Horus. Yes, right now. But what I'm doing is I'm just kind of building them, so then all I have to do is just change a couple of characters, and they can play as traitors.
Come to the dark side.
Everybody
for sure. You got lots of people out there that play one side or the other side, right?
There is.
And some guys, when they see a Shattered Legion, they're like, oh, sweet, I've got, Salamanders, in which case I'm like, yeah, well, I'm going to beat on you. And then other times they're like, oh, I hate, Emperor's Children. And then it's like, okay, well, you're playing, whatever, World Eaters. And it's like, okay, well, I guess I'm loyalist.
See, myself, I've got, like, Dark Mechanicum that I run. And then I've got the most loyal Legion of them all.
Oh, God.
Boo!
Yeah,
Alpha Legion.
Lame.
So I kind of do both.
Turn that mug upside down, Aaron.
You mean around?
Yeah.
No. No, but with him coming out, the model coming out of left field, that was quite interesting. Right. Like, didn't expect that, right? It's a nice, surprise. He's out, right? Like, they've only have how many other characters that they.
So what do you guys think that means? Like, they have a lot of characters in here that don't have models, right? So does that actually give you hope that we're going to start seeing more and more of them come out?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to think so.
For sure.
Even with the rules, right? Like, I'd love to see Lucius or Lucius.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got a lot of characters they kind of got to cover that don't have models, but play kind of a pivotal role in the Heresy.
Oh my god! Yeah, literally every Raven Guard character.
Hey,
said literally every Raven Guard character. Like the two in the Black books are never mentioned in the actual like Black Library novels, but there's supposed to be two. Like that's the only two named characters we got. We got Alvarix Mon and Caedus Nex, and neither. Like I'd love to have a short story about Caedus Nex, like what he got into after he left Isfan, but.
Well, there's quite a fiber familiars if you want to count those. Like they're Ravens.
There's, I mean, there is quite a bunch of characters. I think a lot of them have like one or two. Like.
Yeah, I think every Legion has two at least.
I know what Iron Warriors have two for sure. Valen and Golg.
Yeah. They got Golg and that guy with the melted face as loyalist.
Yeah, Kier Valen. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the one guy that it's not that great, but the World Eaters. There's like a sergeant or something.
Sharbrin Dar. He's a Centurion. He's a loyalist. I actually made a model for him.
Nice.
He's in the Shattered Legion army. And
so
he's another one of those characters that we actually just described Tarvitz as being one of those low-level characters that is kind of just fun for a narrative purpose, but he's actually a bit of a boot stroker. He's got the headhunter rule. He's got he hates the World Eaters. He can have a jump pad. Rage challenges he does exceptionally well. That's for his headhunter rule, and he can. I think I did kind of a trial thing, and he gets 6 attacks, and he gets to re-roll a crazy amount. And I did about 4 wounds with his chain axe with it. And for a decent little, 115 point guy, that's pretty brutal. So that was another one of those models that with this Shattered Legion, I took the opportunity to, hey, I'm going to do this model because everybody always sees the big name characters on the fields, right? You always see the Karns.
Oh, for sure.
All those guys, the guys of legend, but all these little, fringe characters that you don't expect too much of. Like, he's a low level, couple attacks, couple of wounds, few points. Nobody ever expects them on the battlefield. So when they're actually on the battlefield and they start doing something, that's like, they don't have to do a huge amount, and it can be quite cinematic. So I took that opportunity with this model, with those rules, to do that.
Well, I know that I'm trying to do the same thing with the Alpha Legion. What's his
Exodus?
Name? Yeah, Exodus. Yeah. So I got a Vindicator rifle that I'm going to, the new one that I'm going to change up a little bit, and I have the new Praetor that just came out, or the character Centurion, whatever it is, the guy with the sword.
Yep.
I'm just going to model him a little bit different and run the Exodus. Last battle report that I did, I had some headhunters and in the Zone Mortalis game, and they did surprisingly well, even in close combat, which was quite nice. So I think pairing them up together would be kind of neat in a fluffy game. Like, he's only 115 points, right? The only downside to him, I believe, is he can't be taken as your...
He can't be your warlord. Yeah, he can't be your compulsory HQ.
That's right. So
he's a lot like a Vigilator or Saboteur.
Yeah, but I mean, for 115 points, that's not expensive, and he's really good. Like,
that rifle is unreal.
Yeah, it's pretty good, right?
And he's got It Will Not Die.
He does. I didn't know that. But he can. I think on 4+, he picks which model he hits. Now that's good and bad, because
it's good for picking apothecaries out.
Yeah, but you can still look at Sir.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, well, I guess it's
kind
of
defeats the purpose, doesn't it?
a little bit, but you know what? It's still only 4+ because you're not picking out an independent character. It's a character.
Yeah.
Right. So you still have that 50-50 chance.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think you can just allocate it to him because it doesn't really specify, right? It says controlling player may choose which model is hit, but then, you know, following the usual procedure for assigning hits and saves. So, you know, usual is after I assign the hit, you can look out, sir, right? So, but I mean, like, whatever. If you get a couple hits, I think Salvo, like his big weapon is rending, or sorry, his big weapon is heavy 1, rending. His rapid shot is still Salvo 2-4, so I mean, rending. So with 4 shots, if you're up close, like, you know, it's got a good chance of actually doing some damage, right?
Yeah, but he can actually move at the same time. That's the big advantage to him, right? Like, how many sniper characters do you have? Like, Saul Tarvitz has got a sniper rifle, but if he moves, he's only hitting on a 6. And you're probably going to have to move him a few times. I think the range on the instrument is longer as well, isn't it?
It's 36.
No, it's still only 36. Okay.
Yeah, you know, but I mean, again, he infiltrates. I'm sure he does. Yeah, he does. Scouts as well. So with him and headhunters, let's say you run them together, like they can really get into position, right?
Oh yeah.
And he doesn't get preferred enemy, but the headhunters do. So if you have them together like that, makes it really unique. You know, they kind of play off each other. He also has Cameline or Camelo line.
Camellia line.
Camellia. So if you put them together, he gets stealth, so he confers it to them. So I mean, they could sit and cover for a while and like do damage until you get to them.
Doesn't save you against the flamer.
That's right.
Still 3+ armor. That's fine.
Yeah. And he's got will not die, so he might just get that wound back. I think there's a lot of suspicion that he was kind of supposed to be the unofficial Omegan.
I mean, for 150 points, no thanks.
But that's why they gave him the "it will not die" kind of thing, and why he's like the infiltrator. I don't know why we didn't just get rules for Alfarius and Omega.
That would have been cool.
Yeah,
definitely.
It would be. It really would. I mean, I think so. Let's talk about that. Let's say I wanted to make my own rules for Omegon, right? You would take the stats of Alfarius, for example, right? Mm-hmm. So regular Primarch, but then you would change up the spear, most likely. Well, see, you say that, but they talk about the spear and they pass that spear around quite a bit.
They do.
To believe that they have more than one, actually. But let's say, rules-wise, you wouldn't give him the spear, right? Because you wouldn't want to, right? So you would give him a sword or power weapon or something like that, right? Maybe a Paragon Blade, something that he can actually fight with. And then on the other hand, I would give him exactly that, like a big sniper rifle. So you could make him like a 400-point sniping character that is also a Primarch that can fight in close combat. On the other hand, the army benefits, I wouldn't do preferred enemy. I wouldn't do 4+ Cs, but maybe he gets like +2 to see if he goes first. You know, give your army automatically infiltrate.
Yeah.
Or
Shrouded
like
first turn.
Exactly. Shrouded first turn would be amazing.
Yeah, because he's the head of the infiltrator cadre, so.
That's right. Yeah.
Or have them use like a rule like the old, I think it was Sly Marbo, where it's like you could take him and just place him anywhere on the field.
Oh, and you just he appears wherever.
Just kind of infiltrates in there.
Yeah. That might be an interesting little.
What is it? The Grey Knight, or not the Grey Knights? The Knights Errant have that. They can deep strike, no scatter.
Oh, nice.
Right? So I mean, something like that would be really fluffy, right? Mm-hmm. Where you could build a whole infiltrating army. I mean, we're not talking here 2,500, 3,000 point games, right? Which is kind of weird because then you're getting a Primarch in a big game, right?
Yeah.
But it would be pretty cool to see him run like that, right? So if I were to make his rules, that's kind of what I would look to do. Sure. Again, you're still looking at, very expensive Primarch, but it would be pretty cool to kind of see him.
I think I'd probably give him a Paragon Blade with poisoned on it, like a poison 2+, because he would kind of like fits in with the power daggers a little bit. And then his Paragon Blade would be shorter, right? He'd be more inclined to use kind of a knife-sized thing, I think.
You give him like
in my mind,
precision shot on 2+. You give him, maybe he has Murder Strike on his sniper rifle, right? So on a 6, it causes
instant death. Yeah.
Right, things like that, but not immediate, not all the time, but just on a 6 or something, right?
Yeah.
Right. Other than that, he does 2 wounds or whatever. He has some special ammunition. It would be kind of cool to really see a sniper character that is also a Primarch. Which, I mean, they never talk about Omegon really being a sniper, but they talk about him infiltrating, right? Yeah. They talk about him being basically the spy master again, or whatever you want to call it, right?
Yeah.
I remember that story with him on, he was on the Mechanicum world. Now I can't think.
That's Deliverance.
Yes.
It's Deliverance Lost, yeah. Because it's
Raven Guy story, right?
Yeah. Deliverance is on the moon, I think. And then the Forge world is like Kievar, I believe. And he creates the rebellion on the through the Mechanicum that's on the Forge world.
That's right. Yeah.
And then uses that cover to get into the base and recover the spoilers.
Yeah. Spoilers. Yeah.
Well,
let's late now, boys.
Yeah.
Have you guys? So now I can't remember. It's a short story. I want to say Serpent something.
The Seventh Serpent.
Is that the one?
The one with the Sisypheum crew.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, where like the Sherokin and those guys go to try to assassinate.
No, that's not the one I'm thinking. That one's really good too. Where he fights that weird character, Mason, I think they call him, or something. And then Alfarius says that he was going to kill Sherokin, but he promised Magnus he wouldn't. I think that's the one that you're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm thinking with you know what? I'm going to have to have a look at this because they go infiltrate another installation, and I want to say it's
is that the one where they go inside in crates? Like they all bundle themselves up inside crates and get shipped in?
Maybe.
It's a short story. It's not very long. It's
it's not very long, and Omegon is technically there, so no spoilers.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a nice little story about Omegon. I'll have to find it. It's with that girl. It's with that psychic girl that they steal. Rescue.
It's on like an asteroid base or something, right?
Yeah, I can't honestly.
The Alpha Legion outposts.
They're trying to recover some alien artifact, and they have to no spoilers. Destroy it or crush it, and she's using her psychic powers to crush the base, destroy everything.
Yeah. Okay. Either way,
I know what you're talking about.
Just I have to remember now what it's called because it was actually really cool. And next time I'll remember and I'll mention it to people to read it because even if you're not a huge fan of Alpha Legion, it's a really cool story too.
So with all these stories and all the books out there, I don't know about you guys, but you guys ever get into it where you're reading a certain novel or listen to the audiobook and you're instantly drawn to that legion?
Yes.
And you're you want to start that legion up.
Yeah. That's all every time I read a book.
yeah, right.
So for somebody new coming into Horus Heresy, there's so many legions, there's so many different characters, there's so many different styles and whatnot of just the universe and again, like I said, the legions. As a new player coming into it, your mind's probably just blown. I know we have one of our guys there, Brady. He's just been pumping lists.
He's been firing off to me a mile a minute.
So
I gave him a full psych exam to try to work him in to be no, this is the legion you want, and here's the reasons why. And then he was like, okay, I'm into it. And then he was like, I don't really want to use any of the unique characters. So I helped him design a Praetor as Fafnir Ran. And then he keeps flipping between that and the Iron Warriors just because he's got a bunch of Warriors stuff.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, we went into that conversation quite in depth. And the way I've always done it, and I kind of communicated this to Brady as well, was, I pick a scene in that book that's inspired me, the scene that's drawn me into that legion, or if there's a particular piece of art that's pulled me into it and drawn me to that legion. And then I try to build my theme around that. So, for example, let's use and spoilers for the first wall in the Siege of Terra series. It's not really going to give away any story elements, but just in case, there's a scene where obviously the Iron Warriors are assaulting the spaceport, which is being held by Ran and the Imperial Fists. And so as they're starting to lose, the humans, like the Imperial army, is kind of starting to get overrun. So Ran wants to kind of save them. So he leads from the front, and he goes out with a breacher team to set up a shield wall to allow the Imperial army to move backwards. And so this is kind of what Brady and I have been working towards in his list, because he really likes mobile infantry. He doesn't really want to have a static gun line. He doesn't really want to run Stone Gauntlet. And so I've kind of cited this scene to him because this is one that kind of inspired me from an Imperial Fist standpoint. And then as he kind of starts to reclaim a little bit of that ground and allows the Imperial army to back off, he then needs an escape route. So he outflanks some Sicarans and some armor to kind of pinch out from the sides, create a new wall, so that way he can pull back and then pulls the vehicles back.
Infantry, yeah.
Yeah. And so I was like, if you really want a mobile infantry and you want to have a narrative thematic force, go with that. And then because it's the spaceport, you can fit in, I recommended to use a Xiphon, but he seems to really like the Primaris Lightning, and that's fine. I mean, it's a fine jet as far as game rules go. And, you can fit that in because it's at the spaceport. So tank-wise, you're going to want Sicarans and fast-moving tanks. And then try to get some phalanx warders in there, or a command squad with shields and axes or something like that to kind of represent Ran and his main crew.
So
and that's the nice thing.
New players we have, but or like listening to us, but like when you actually are starting a brand new army, let's say you're new to the hobby, or you actually want to start a new one, because we could talk about that too, because I know we've all gone through it.
Yeah.
Like, other than this, I know for me, so I'll mention it, and then maybe Ryan, you can tell us what you would do to choose the next one. But for myself, stories is a big one, right? So I've read through majority of them. I think only the third book of Terra I haven't, and a couple of the Primarchs books I haven't. But like I know for White Scars, like after reading their books, I had to play them. Legion, even though it's still a very small portion, like they only go into Alpha Legion later on, like it's a lot about militia, but like I needed to play Alpha Legion, like they were my army, like I just fell in love with them.
In that book I fell in love with the militia and the army, right?
And that's the thing, I
think a lot of people did,
and really yes, I wanted to play Alpha Legion, and then I read more about them and learned more about them, right?
Yeah.
So myself, I like those. I think not many people in this particular hobby, especially with their first army, I guess, maybe later on, but not many of them go in and say, okay, what army am I going to win with, right? Yeah, there's a few people out there that do that when they're picking an army, but not really so much the first one, I feel. The first one is always, what do you like? And personally, I definitely suggest that myself too. I mean, you're going to have to sit down, you're going to have to paint an army, you're going to have to play with it. Find something that you really like, find something that you like talking about, because we spend a lot of time talking about it. So you want to be able to have that. So Ryan, I guess yourself, let's say you were about to start an army. So you've got a couple now. You're about to start a new one.
Yeah.
Like, what would you do?
Well, you just started an army, right? So why don't you talk about that process that got you into the Shattered Legions?
The Shattered Legion one, yeah. The Shattered Legion one was a bit of a different ball of wax. I've had lots of armies over the years, but the Shattered Legion is really something that kind of stood out to me. Actually, first it was not only the storytelling aspect that you guys mentioned, but I had watched a battle report online. I can't recall off the top of my head, a couple of English chaps, and one of them has a Shattered Legion army. It's the same. It's the same type of legions, and it was character driven. It didn't have all the same characters. He had a Tarvitz, that kind of thing, but it really kind of gave me a challenge to do something different. I have my Imperial fists. They're very much the way they are is the way they are. I just wanted something different. I wanted something that I've always been up for a challenge. Like I was the guy who back in the day ran a Tanith first and only Imperial Guard army using all Tanith models, 125 of these things. And I would infiltrate, shoot sniper rifles, and shoot flamers. It was really something that stood out to other people, and it was really a challenge. So with the Shattered Legion, it was a stark contrast to what it was with the Imperial Fists. It's very very more into the guerrilla warfare aspect of it. It's more cinematic and telling the story. That's what stood out to me and jumped out to me as it being a challenge. Also, me being the perpetual nerd I am, just like every one of you guys, anybody out there that has young kids, you try to mold them and manipulate them into getting into what you're into. I remember actually when I had stopped playing 40k and actually I was going to move to Alberta, I was blowing out my Crimson Fist army that I had for, since about 2000, let's say. And when I was selling it and the guy was coming to get it, my kids go, "Those are really cool, Dad. What are they?" And my daughter had played Hero Quest. And I'm like, "Oh, really?" So I showed them it, and of course they wanted to paint, and from there they wanted to build armies, and that's where the Talons of the Emperor came from, because my daughter loves the Sisters of Silence, and my son, he's a kind of a little mental sadistic kind, so he wanted an evil army. So that's where we got the Shattered Legion, who are evil, yet they're heroes at the same time.
And see, and I like to me, painting different squads, different colors would really appeal to me. That's the other reason why I like Alpha Legion, is because I'm able to take other special units and paint them up and use them. So yeah, the painting aspect of it is really cool, because you get to paint 3, 4, 5, I guess as many as you really want, but you can paint all those legions and
there's the whole like conversion aspect of it too, or the hobby of it. Like Shattered Legion, you literally can do whatever you want, right?
Yeah, anything,
and make them look, like they've been there for a long time, and they've got to use different parts of, some armor that's on the battlefield that's still good, and they need to replace their parts and stuff like that, right? So I mean, you might get that, one Marine who was part of that Legion, but felt betrayed and crossed out his symbol, kind of thing, stuff like that. So
that's something I really went with. I really wanted to take units that you didn't always see. Like in the book, it was when they were getting rid of, not only did they get rid of the loyalist units, but a lot of those times those units were ones that you wouldn't always see. They wouldn't see combat, therefore they weren't around to be influenced by the traitor forces or whatever. So it's like I said, I've got World Eater recons with shotguns and meltabombs in this army. I've got a lot of different things. Like my Sons of Horus veterans have not always the most efficient war gear, but they definitely have some hodgepodge war gear. Like, okay, might have picked it up from here, might have picked it up from there, because in the books you don't always see characters that have the most effective gear. You have captains with chainswords and stuff like that. So I really want to bring that out and tell the story. And if I win with it, it's even better.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
But even like I know me and Bill have talked a fair bit about the legions and the new legions kind of that we want to try out or run and do. And I was actually doing the word bearers there for a little bit, just trying to get them going. But eventually it came down to wasn't really digging them, right? So Bill came out with this idea of like, it'd be cool is having those old classic grudge matches. The Ultramarines, which is my main army that everybody knows and has pretty much seen. Bill's decided to start up the word bearers, right? So we can have those kind of grudge matches and just have really good time with them. And you got Iron Warriors and Imperial Fists. There's tons of Iron Warriors players in our community.
So many.
There is a ton.
I've had my fill of playing against Iron Warriors to my fists.
So... What's crazy is like after I read No Fear and Mark of Kelth, I just started to really dig the word bearers and flipping through some of their unit entries. You got characters like that Hall Beloth guy who doesn't have a model, but he's in the Siege of Kelth and just seems like a cool character. Just a lot of them kind of seem cool, like Argotol as well. Something I'd like to even run as a Praetor. All converted out, right? Just different things.
In order to play word bearers, from the stories, you really, really have to have a lot of disrespect for the human race.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
Wow.
I'm there.
Really
tell us
I'm
how
there.
You
Yeah.
No, honestly though, I really love their stories. Like I do. There's a few things here and there that I would pick out and say I didn't like that, but majority of their stuff, like with they're just so awful to the Ultramarines. Like,
well, they're just awful to everybody.
Show up and they're all
just in general,
and
man.
And then like a switch goes
the
off.
The Ultramarines, you basically gotta treat them like dirt. That's the way.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's a race to the bottom between like Layak and Fabius Bile. Like they're both pretty nasty.
No.
Logard's definitely like a Primarch that I like to hate. I have to admit, like
I didn't like him at first at all. I always thought he was just like the.
But that's
sucked,
what I mean,
right?
though, right? Like you
just
don't
that
like
chump.
him,
yeah, well, he really was. Let's be real. He's a bit of a bitch, right? He's like, no, I don't want to do it. I don't want to go to chaos. And you're like,
he's what the Primarch chaplain, pretty much, right?
Yeah.
The guy sitting at the back, just
and then you start liking him, and then you don't like him again at the end, and like that's really how I felt, right? We're even Horus. Like, honestly, even Horus, you love him at the beginning, you love him in the middle, and we're going to love him right at the end because he's just like he's a good bad guy. And don't get me wrong, Logar's a good bad guy too, but just like Erebus. Like, I just
see.
Man, the word bearers are the Westboro Baptist Church of Warhammer 30k.
Oh, let's not be political.
Shit!
Work that out or something.
No, but like Erebus, like I don't know. I actually enjoyed his character. Just in the first couple books, right? He's just a little,
he's an asshole, but he's our asshole.
Yeah, exactly, right?
But everything that is wrong with Space Marines Erebus, like exemplified.
Yeah, embodies it.
Yeah. There's one Legion that I would never play. Anybody want to take a guess?
Space Wolves, because they're too cool for you?
Space Wolves.
Yeah, I knew it. I knew it. They're too cool.
There's so much hate. There's so much hate for Space Wolves.
Anything. I like Russ, actually. The more I read about Russ, I really, really like Russ, actually.
Because he's awesome.
But I don't like the Legion for some reason. I don't know what it is.
You know what? I don't like him in 40k, but I like him in 30k. Like I'm a big fan of them. And you know what? I'm the same boat with the Ultramarines. They're a bunch of Mary Sues in 40k, but they're actually like hard as nails and.
In 30k, they really are
those poster boys. Like I said, you just something about
it wasn't for my beloved Ultramarines. There would be no new Primaris models. Okay,
but we talk about like
so maybe, I don't know. Some people might say it'd be a good thing if the Ultramarines weren't around.
If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't have legions. We would have legions. We wouldn't have the stupid chapters.
Well, most of those chapters are Ultramarines anyways, so...
If you're the Wolves, you just cheat anyway.
Just
or Black
successor chapters.
Or the Black Templars, yeah.
Yeah. But there's so many good armies, so many good models. whatever your flavor is, right?
Yeah.
Like they all the legions kind of have that look to them of something in history, you know.
Yeah.
Ultramarines are like Romans, of course, right? You know, we got Space Vikings for the Space Wolves, and Egyptian like for Thousand Suns.
Westboro Baptist Church for the
exactly
for the word bearers.
What would you say? Like, okay, so what would you say the Alpha Legion are then?
They're just
the Alpha Legion or the KGB Secret Police?
Persian.
Okay. Because I know like Dark Angels, right, are your inner circle
Arthurian
knights.
Yeah, Arthurian knights.
Yeah, and then Night Lords. Well, but see, world eaters are supposed to be like
they're like gladiators. Really, that's what they are. Gladiatorial warriors of the sands, right? The blood sands.
Yeah, they're the Roman lower class, and the Ultramarines were like the Roman upper class.
Night Lords.
Night Lords are like Vlad the Impaler and Romanian.
Yeah.
And then Blood Angels are Greek.
Italians. Blood Angels are a blend between Greek and Italian, like Greek and Renaissance Italian.
Yeah.
Okay. What more?
Iron Hands? What about Iron Hands? Well, actually, Iron Warriors. Going back to Iron Warriors,
they're Greek.
Very Greek, yeah.
Well, Greek, but they're also like a Soviet Russian army. They've definitely got that feel of the attrition, you know, keep pushing forward, dirty, disgusting warfare, just getting it done type thing. Yeah. So they've definitely got that feel too.
Yeah. Life is cheap.
What about the fists?
Fists, they've got that Greek feel too. With
they're the city of Troy.
Right.
Yeah, they're the city of Troy, that Greek feel, but then they're also very much knights and dueling too. Like they're helmets that have very much the Black Templar. They turn out to be the Black Templar, right?
So,
the Crusades. The Crusades, pretty much. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and then
First Children are a bit of I think they're Persian meets Italian style too, because they're all about the curved weapons.
For me, I see them more as like Renaissance French.
I could see that too.
Ooh. Like it's very much about pomp. It's very much about dueling. It's very much about, you know, everything that we do is better than everyone else. And like even the look to me
I wouldn't have played them then.
You guys just lost every Quebec listener.
What about the so we've got White Scars, of course.
Chinese Mongolians.
The Mongols. Yeah.
Death Guard. That one I'm not really sure.
Death Guard's tough. I mean, they were like the world that he comes from is very much peasant class, tormented by, you know, the monsters up on the mountain.
Yeah, they're like warp creature things.
Yeah, and they're very like farmer sort of. So I don't know, maybe like just the dark
like the revolutionaries.
Yeah, the Dark Ages, like Plague.
Yeah, like overthrow your king type of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like just do what's sick, I guess.
Yeah.
Right.
The French.
No, we already established who the French was.
Salamanders.
They're a tough one because they're like craftsmen all the time, right? Like
like blacksmiths, right? So
and they care about the people. They care about regular human beings and people
more than any other.
Marines, it seems, yeah.
Ultramarines do too, don't get me wrong. They definitely go over that.
Yeah.
But Salamanders more so than any other legion. So I don't know what you would call them, but
I can't really think of who's like such a craftsman vulture like that.
Yeah.
Well, if you're gonna compare them to comic books, I would almost say Black Panther, because Black Panther's character is not only, besides the obvious, but he's very much a man of the people, right? He's very much a
Yeah, and they're pretty ingenuity.
Yes.
Okay.
His country.
It's really hard to say.
It's almost the age of tech, like the age of the technology, right? Or craftsmanship, whenever that was, like, with all the inventions that they started coming out with and experimenting with and whatnot.
Yeah, it's fairly Renaissance, but I don't know that people were caring too much about Renaissance. Maybe like Industrial Revolution America.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Right, because like unions were starting to spring up. You were starting to see much more social programs come out, much more, caring about the general population, and craftsmanship was still important, and ingenuity was at the top, and so like I could very much see that, and it's very much about protecting your own, and I mean that would fit. It's funny that two of the legions in the Trefoil are so hard to pin down, and then the other one is just Space Vikings.
Well, but you've got like you've got also.
Well, Iron Hand. What about Iron Hands?
And we kind of talked about Iron Hands.
They would. I would actually say
we said Iron
are more closer to the Scottish or the British, the traditional British tribes and the clans, because they're clans. But then you also see that there's quite a bit of infighting, I guess, rivalry going on between them as well. They're very very, very bitter.
Yeah,
they are.
They're very World War One Brits. Very World War One United Kingdom.
Yeah, I kind of laugh at how they work in there, like being clans, very, very bitter, very hard, very determined, and I see it looking at my wife, who's Scottish from Scotland, and it's like, yeah, they're definitely your people.
Oh, okay.
Which is great. It's definitely a character. It's very bold. It's very in your face. It's very, very strong. It's like, I don't want to compare them to orcs. Like they have their own problems, but amongst each other, but collectively they're very strong. So if you mess with them, you're going to feel the whole rage and wrath of everything coming down your head.
And then what would you say, Sons of Horus?
Bastards.
Sons of Horus I kind of see as the Germanic tribes. Like pre-Roman invasion. Like it's very much a warrior culture. It's very much tribal. They're somewhat united, but also still a little bit of infighting. But if you look at, like, say, for example, the art of like pre-Primarch Horus in the Siege of Terra books, I don't know if they're in the standard editions, but I know in the limited editions there's those early concept photos of what they look like before the Emperor found them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he looks a lot like a Germanic High King.
They also talk about like what it was prior as well, right? So like, what do you call it? The hives of, can't even think of it now, where they're like murdering each other and
yeah. I mean, they were in like a weird techno barbarian planet,
right? Like kind of weird. I don't remember much about it, but they did a little bit. I'm trying to think of the story, but now I can't.
Yeah, you get a little more peeks into it in the Siege of Terra from like Abaddon's flashbacks.
Yeah, right. Yeah, with Abaddon
and that's where really kind of like secured it for me. It was very much that to me sounded very Germanic, like Germanic early tribes.
They have like the top knots, right?
Yeah, but I mean things like that weren't uncommon in Germanic tribes either. Like they would have a top knot, or they would have dreadlocks, or just boundless. Yeah. It was more about like the better warrior you were, the more fearsome you had to look.
Yeah.
Right.
Gaul.
And then who are we missing? Raven Guard?
Yeah, exactly, the Gaul. Yeah. The Raven Guard are easy. They're like
sorry.
The Raven Guard are very Maori. like southeastern or South Pacific, I should say. Right, so you see that a lot in the art on the tattoos. Like it's very Maori style tattoos, and then the quick lightning raids. Right, I mean the Maori were known to sneak up on you. You didn't know that they were coming, and then all of a sudden they'd come out fast and ferocious, right, and then kind of recede. You especially see it in the Carcharodons, which is like one of their subsequent chapters after they kind of get broken down, but. Yeah, they're they're very Maori in nature. Or an influence, I should say.
Okay. Well, I think that's good. Right? Yeah. We've kind of chatted about a few different things.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, guys. Ryan, Alex.
Yeah, no problem.
For sure.
Thanks for having me.
Andy, Bill.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah, and then I think we'll probably I don't know what we're going to talk about next week. Join us to find out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So thanks for joining. I mean, subscribe, share if you like, comment. Like, just let us know what you want us to talk about. Really, if you want to be a guest, let us know too. We'll try to do this more and more now that nobody's actually playing. So the few people that actually get to play are these days. So. We'll be trying to talk more and more about stuff. So yeah, let us know what you want to hear and let us know if you want to join us.
Excellent hobby time. Good time to get those word bearers down there, Bill.
Definitely. I'm excited.
I just painted a whole word bearer army. I just can't touch another word bearer for a while. You did. So yeah, I can't, and I'm really disappointed because after I was done with them, I handed them off and I was really looking forward to playing a few games against them, and he hasn't had a chance, and of course with this, nobody's played.
Yeah.
So we'll see them soon. Yeah. I'm excited to beat them with my true
loyalist. I think the events will be fast and furious after this is over.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That's the one good thing that's actually come from this is everybody's got so much time on their hands. You can either A, catch up on your modeling and painting, or B, start a new project, right?
Yeah.
You say, oh, I'm just playing all the time. No, you don't have a choice.
Yeah. Now there's no excuse for gray models on the table. No excuse for unpainted models.
Damn straight.
Most of us, yeah. Agreed.
Not for everybody.
All right,
we're probably in for another 4 weeks, so.
Oh, at least.
At least. So, I mean, that's enough time.
Think positive about it. Come on.
Yeah. Okay, thanks for joining us.
We'll see you awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
See you.
Catch ya.